Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick, with the City of Hampton's Communications and Marketing Department. And today we're going to talk about a city project that has been kicked around for quite some time and is being implemented in phases. It's called the Newmarket Creek Park and Trail. And my guests are Amy Jordan from Economic Development and Donald Whipple from Community Development. And the first thing I notice is the fact that there's two of you here from different departments really showcases two different aspects of why the city's doing this. Community development, the city planning, growth, health, all that stuff. But economic development, why are you interested in a park and trail?
Well, parks make good economic sense, Robin. We see them as an opportunity for improving the quality of life. Of course, it's recreation opportunities, but when you think about the users in that area, not just the residential users, but visitors that are coming to the convention center, to Boo Williams Sportsplex, to the Coliseum, they're staying in our hotels, to the office daytime population that wants to take a lunch break and get out and ride a bike or get some exercise or take in the environment. These are all important aspects to improving that quality of life. And it's also something that really makes sense for our retail and economic sense. With this park project, we've designed areas that can sort of have more of a what you would call an urban riverwalk feel. And so as you get towards the Coliseum and areas that have more commercial uses, we have opportunities that we can plan for restaurants or cafes or retail uses and entertainment that can occur along this park and trail system. So you have areas that will function more as a natural trail, but then you have areas that really feed into our commercial districts and really help to support those. And it's also going to link neighborhoods. So therefore, it allows neighborhoods to get to those economic areas much easier.
And that's, where you come in. And where a lot of the projects City Council is talking about at this time have these sort of dual benefits where you're attracting tourists or business or, getting more people to live in Coliseum Central, which is, one of the goals right now, but also tying in the community aspects. So you're getting the visitors to help generate the tax dollars that help support things that we as residents enjoy.
Right. Pretty much in all of our strategic master plan areas, and this is true for Coliseum Central as well, is really bringing together all the various land uses and increasing the density and the quality of the lifestyle and the living there. And so, like I just mentioned, Coliseum Central is no different. And so you've got commercial areas. Obviously, that's the largest commercial area for the city. And then one of the main things for the plan is to introduce and increase the amount of residents that live there. And so, they're already kind of driving there to do their shopping and, go to the restaurants and things like that. But, what if we were to create new neighborhoods and increase, the quality of the existing neighborhoods so that people, new and existing residents can potentially walk to that. So to those venues. And so in all of those plans, there's an element of not only just bringing together the commercial, office, and residential land uses, but also having good open space and parklands intermixed within that, and then connecting it through, a trail system or good pedestrian connections.
Well, that's kind of why, for starters, we don't have that much land left in Hampton. For us to grow, it has to be redevelopment and potentially in higher density areas where you're taking away what used to be, one house and putting in two or whatever. And that makes sense in these retail corridors. And isn't that sort of a new trend? That, baby boomers wanted to live in the suburbs, and now things are changing with the new generation. And frankly, when baby boomers start to retire, they may not want the big house, the big yard that's far away from some of the amenities.
Yeah, it actually is. Definitely it's new for Hampton. In the last 10 years, that's about when we started doing the master plan areas for these 6 strategic areas. And so it's at that point where we were seeing a shift from new development to redevelopment, because as you mentioned, we're pretty much built out. There's not that much new land, and what new land there is, it's in small increments scattered throughout the city that you can't really combine it to do anything. And so we've identified these strategic areas to focus on redeveloping and infusing new residences, new neighborhoods, and just increasing the density. And that's happening not just here in Hampton, it's happening all over the country.
And the Coliseum Central area, where Newmarket Creek is mostly located.
Yeah, it kind of winds throughout the city, but
it really
that's the part of it we're talking about.
Right. It is one of the fastest growing census tracts on the peninsula, actually. It's added over 1,000 residential units in and around Coliseum Central since we adopted the Coliseum Central Master Plan in 2005. And we're also finding that the numbers right within that urban core of Coliseum Central of young millennials that are moving in is really tremendous. It's making up close to a third of that population that has moved into that area. So it's really a great opportunity for young professionals that are moving in that maybe work at NASA Langley or work within the Coliseum Central area, or might even work other places, but they like the location because it's near shopping, it's near recreation, you can get to everything easily, and they like the option of being able to walk or ride a bike. And so that's part of this project, is to really not just provide the pedestrian improvements that we've already started to do along Coliseum Drive and Mercury Boulevard, but extend that to those natural areas and really interconnect that natural space with that urban environment so that you can have both experiences. And it's important too, because not only does it improve the quality of life, but it also raises property values. So when you have these types of parks and open space, it's something then that really economically makes sense from that perspective, because it increases then your tax dollars. Not only you're drawing more people to an area that might want to take advantage of the Newmarket Creek Park and Trail, but those that either reside there or commercial properties that are located along it or near it will see an increase in property value because of it.
Well, it's also just, I think, so important that one of Hampton's biggest assets is the water. Mm-hmm. And, I love this statistic, but we have 124 miles of waterfront. And it's important to keep some of that in public hands so that it's an access for all of our citizens, not just people who can afford to live on the water, but we can all get there. We can all see it, walk along it, maybe, put a kayak or rent one if you don't have one into the water, and have that connection to nature and that physical activity.
And that is so important. Newmarket Creek Park or Newmarket Creek historically, I think was sort of just seen when commercial development was coming along in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, more as just a divider of the commercial world, and sort of looked at as kind of just the behind the scenes. And now we realize it really is a thing of beauty that we really should embrace. I think so many people drive over the 664 interchange and see that beautiful water body there, mm-hmm. and don't even realize what it is. But it is quite breathtaking just driving through there. And so when you actually experience it, either on foot or in a kayak, you really feel like you're in a different place. It's sort of this little bit of almost a rural oasis in mm-hmm. this urban environment.
Yeah. Well, so most of us, I'm sorry to say, don't follow the planning efforts, and it takes a darn long time to get things done in a city. You guys have been working on this for a long time, and as you said, it stems back to a master plan, how long ago?
10 years ago.
Yeah.
But
see, that you don't realize.
Yeah. Well, at that point, it was identified as a hidden asset, basically. Mm-hmm. In all the areas, we're hearing, from all over the city of how can we increase public access to our waterfront. And a lot of times people think of, Buckrow and,
sure.
Now Fort Monroe. We have great,
we have beautiful
waterfront.
beaches and waterfront.
It's beautiful. But this was identified as a hidden gem, that runs right through the middle of Coliseum Central, and how it could become a linear park and trail, system that could benefit not only just our residents, but because it's running through the Coliseum and the Convention Center area, that it could be a real asset to our visitors, whether they're coming in for a convention or going, staying overnight in our hotels. And so it really has the potential of getting people to that waterfront. Amy mentioned it is a beautiful view. If you're on the interstate, just be careful when you're crossing over. But
don't get too distracted.
Go
we
through
want
that
you to be a safe
interchange.
driver.
Go through that interchange at sunset, and it's just really beautiful. And just I'm sure a lot of people wonder, well, how can I get to that? And that's part of the plan is to do that. So 2004, to get back to your question, was when we actually did the Coliseum Central Master Plan, and it was identified as an asset. 3 years later, in 2007, we actually did a separate master plan just for the park and trail itself. And so, as you mentioned, then you've got to start identify funding sources and that sort, to design it and to implement it. And we actually have 2 active projects currently. So I don't know if that's a good segue to where you're going.
No, I think that's because this comes in for some criticism because the total price tag of what we could do is a very, very high price tag. Mm-hmm. And we may or may not get to all of that, but the funding and the planning has been done so that we can enjoy incrementally things as we decide to and think we're ready to do them. So explain to me what has been done or what is about to be done.
Probably the most recent is actually it'll look more like a streetscape project. It'll be on Pine Chapel Road. And basically it'll be a multi-purpose trail that will be installed, and it'll connect the intersection of Coliseum and Pine Chapel over to the side entrance into the power plant over there by Bass Pro Shops. And so why that's very important is for years we've been trying to get a safer, more aesthetic connection between the hotel district and the convention center over to the shopping and the restaurants that are over at the power plant.
And as well as connecting those neighborhoods at Aberdeen Gardens, they'll be able to easily get across. When you look at, again, the Coliseum Central area, there's only 2 places to really get pedestrians across the interstate, and one is at Pine Chapel and the other is Cunningham. And they're 1.5 miles apart, so that improvement not only is important to the trail, but again, it's important to that linkage between the 2. Mm-hmm. And as part of that, we're also going to relocate the entrance to Bluebird Gap Farm and align that with the Bass Pro entrance, which will make that a safer entrance as well. It's juxtaposed so close to the ramp that it's very difficult for people to get in and out safely.
Right. It's a little hard to see.
And it's hard to see. So many people ask, well, where is Bluebird Gap Farm? So now there'll be a safer entrance and a better opportunity, and people even from Aberdeen or other close neighborhoods would be able to even, have an easier time walking to things like Bluebird and crossing the interstate to get to the other side safely with, bicycles, pedestrians, baby strollers. So it's important for the trail, but it's also important just to creating that linkage between the 2 areas.
And that's funny because I think of it as a roadway improvement, and I think we did get state VDOT money for a big chunk of it. Yeah. But it is also part of the trail, and that's what you said, where it sort of starts in this urban sidewalky kind of a trail, and then it eventually winds along the water.
I think an exciting part of the overall project is that you'll have this very urban promenade that transitions into natural trail, that perhaps is, unpaved, and a good portion of it will go through wetland areas as safely as we can, through elevated boardwalks. Mm-hmm. So there'll be parts where you're out and you'll think, I'm not part of, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and then there'll be parts of it that you're just right in the hustle and bustle of, shopping and the restaurants and, just everything that's going on, all the activity, that activity center.
And that's cool for a tourist too, because especially if I've driven to a city, or even if I've, flown and taken a cab or whatever, I don't want to get back in a car. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to walk to dinner, I want to be able to walk to shopping, or just walk for exercise. I mean, what a cool thing.
And getting from that Pine Chapel area over to the Convention and Coliseum, that area we've referred to as our Crossroads and community. And part of that Crossroads master planning effort is to eventually go to a plan for structured park parking for those uses, and then provide a real mixed-use urban environment. So those areas that are now serving as parking lots for the Coliseum and the Convention Center would eventually serve for hotel, restaurant, entertainment, recreation, maybe some urban housing, so new retail opportunities. These are all things that can occur within those areas. And so that's where you're going to see the implementation of the trail as those areas begin to develop, really take on that urban riverwalk feel. And then as you get into more...
Now, hang on just one. Now, is that the next part? So we do the Pine Chapel connecting the power plant area into Coliseum, and then didn't another leg just get approved?
Yeah, we have another piece that's currently in design, and it's the more natural part, switching total gears from the Pine Chapel overpass over to this area, which will be the trailhead. That's sort of the end or the beginning of the trail, will happen at Air Power Park on Mercury Boulevard, which is right across the street from the studio here.
Yep.
And then it will head towards North Armstead Avenue. And so the good portion of that will be elevated walkways through the wetland areas and over the water. There will be an improved docking and put-in area for canoes and kayaks at Air Power Park.
Yay!
So we'll do that part, and then probably the next phase we'll take it from Newmarket or across North Armstead Avenue into the area. There's a large lake. There's a large lake next to Home Depot that's called Lake Hampton. So
I didn't know that was there until those houses came down.
It's a freshwater lake, so that creates a real unique opportunity because being a saltwater area, right? We don't have a lot of fresh water, so that really creates a unique opportunity as we're planning that. These two areas that we're designing and moving forward with the implementation on are sort of creating the bookends for this trail, and they're both things that are important because, again, as we mentioned, the Pine Chapel overpass will serve dual purposes. Well, same thing with the connection from Air Power Park to Armstead, because this opportunity now really starts to create a chance to connect downtown to Coliseum Central. And
some of the neighborhoods, Old Hampton and Old Northampton.
Exactly.
And those.
So we can actually, they're going to, there's, as part of a separate project, do some improvements to that LaSalle Armstead interchange, and so around Thomas Street. And so
the whole YH Thomas area.
And the YMCA.
It feels so cut off.
Right, and you have the YMCA. And so those improvements now will be able to connect into this. Mm-hmm. So we're really starting to make the linkage between those what we've considered more downtown neighborhoods and Coliseum Central, and bring the two together in something that everybody can start to enjoy and enjoy the recreation and the environment.
So this creek, which sort of splits the city in half, is then going to be the trail will make it be the bridge that pulls together the people who used to be sort of cut off.
Really will unify the city.
Okay, well, we need to stop now, but I want you to come back as we do, each little piece, because I think you guys have this great understanding of how the whole thing unfolds, but the rest of us don't have that level of detail. And it's really helpful when you explain it kind of piece by piece.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Donald, and thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Robin.
And thank you for watching. I hope you are as excited about this as I am, and that it will pull us together as a city and unite us and help our economic development efforts. Thank you for watching.